Hello and welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host Yeshi. Here are the headlines. Bridge over Mahakali River strengthens Indo-Nepal relations, says Nepal's Transport Minister. Economic collapse pushing people towards extremes in Afghanistan. Only resorts available are charity and aid. And mass dance enthralls visitors at Spituk Gustor Festival in India's Ladakh. Let's begin the show. India and Nepal shares a unique type of friendship and cooperation characterized by an open border and deep-rooted people-to-people contacts of kinship and culture since ages. And an improved connectivity for the purpose of trade and strategic depth has been considered a key component to the historical ties. Keeping that in mind, recently, both the government have signed a memorandum of understanding for the construction of a motorable bridge over the Mahakali River in northern border under New Delhi's grant assistance. We have a report.
In a bid to strengthen ties between India and Nepal, both the neighbouring countries recently have signed a memorandum of understanding for the newly project to build a bridge over Mahakali River. Mahakali Treaty is an agreement between the two governments for the development of watershed of Mahakali River, and the treaty was signed in 1996. It basically aims at an integrated development of water resources in the Mahakali River and has been finalized on the basis of equal partnership. The Mahakali originates in Nepal and forms the border between the two countries for a considerable distance. Addressing the event, Nepal's Minister for Physical Infrastructure and Transport, Renu Kumari Yadav, has also opined that this project will boost the bilateral relations and people-to-people connection.
मलाई लाग्छ यो हस्ताक्षर भएपछि यदि द्रुत गतिमा काम भयो भने मलाई लाग्छ दुईटा देशको अझ सम्बन्ध पनि प्रगाढ हुनेछ यातायात व्यापार हाम्रो जुन धर्म संस्कृति सबै कुरा छ यसलाई एउटा टेवा पुग्याउँछ भन्ने जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ त्यसै कारणले यो कार्यक्रममा
Under the grant assistance of the Government of India, the Memorandum of Understanding was signed for a construction of a motorable bridge over the Mahakali River connecting Darchula, which is in India, with Darchula, which is in Nepal. Meanwhile, Indian Ambassador Quatra said the project's completion would establish a new foundation for economic prosperity in those areas which are connected.
Today's MOU, I would say, is a milestone step because with this MOU, the two countries have started the process of establishing deeper connectivity, wider connectivity between Sudur Paschim of Nepal and the state of Uttarakhand of India, and would hence immensely benefit not just the people across Mahakali River on both sides of the banks of the rivers in both countries, but I think after its completion it will establish a new foundation for economic prosperity in those areas which are connected.
While the two sides had earlier pledged to jointly develop small sections, they have now committed to take it to the next and broader level in the next coming years. From small-scale development projects to providing assistance in its reconstruction and gasoline lines, India had ensured the pace of development in Nepal grows exponentially. The construction of the bridge is planned to commence soon.
Moving on, the war-ravaged Afghanistan, whose economy survived on international aid and donations until a few months back, is on the verge of collapse owing to multiple reasons, including freezing of country's accounts since the Taliban takeover in August. With more than half the country facing acute food shortages, Afghan citizens are facing extreme level of hunger, posing a threat to life of millions. Let's take a look.
These people here are waiting outside a bakery in central Kabul with the hope of receiving a free loaf of bread. Women are compelled to be seated on the streets while men with wheelbarrows are waiting for their turn to save their hunger. Most people in Afghanistan don't have enough food to eat due to economic crash following the Taliban takeover in August last year. Hamena, a 14-year-old girl from Kunduz province, said it has been tough to make ends meet with her father working as a market porter and her mother sick at home.
پدرم کراچکش از روز 20 روپه 30 روپه کار میکنه برم در خانه نان میاره مادر مشتی که خود دارن نگاه میکنه در خانه خودش هم مریض است ما اینجا به خاطر میاییم یک دو تا نان جمع کنیم ببریم خانه را بخوریم به شب و صبح بخوریم.
Bakery owner Mehrdil Khan Rahmati, who has been handing out free bread for about 3 years, is basically a donation-based service, so the amount of bread he hands out varies from day to day. People contribute what they can, anywhere from 50 Afghani to 10,000 Afghani. The loaves he sells go to around 20 Afghani each.
تقریبا روزانه در حدود 5,000 الی 10,000 نان ما پخت میکنیم و روزایی که مردم به این مردم که کمک میکنه اضافه تر میشه از این بیشتر ما پخت میکنیم ساعت دیگه ایران تا 8 شب الی 10 شب ما نان پخت میکنیم به مردم.
Afghanistan has been facing the humanitarian crisis since last year. Afghans are running out of money while prices of basic food items from food to medicine are skyrocketing. Last month, the United Nations appealed for a $4.4 billion humanitarian aid for Afghanistan. A further $3.6 billion was also proposed for health and education, basic infrastructure, promotion of livelihoods and social cohesion, specifically the needs of women and girls. Various agencies and experts say the Afghanistan could see near universal poverty by mid-2022 if humanitarian assistance doesn't reach immediately to those in need.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
In order to assist the fight against the coronavirus pandemic, Japan has announced a plan to donate 20 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines to 7 emerging countries directly and 11 million doses to 13 countries through the COVAX facility. The countries set to receive the vaccines were thrilled to hear the news. Furthermore, $124 million for cold chain vaccine transport were donated to 59 countries. VTV correspondent Mr. Long Nguyen reported the development. The national television station of Cambodia broadcasted a live program lasting over an hour to celebrate the arrival of the vaccines.
រាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលនិងប្រជាជនកម្ពុជាទាំងមូលពិតជាមានការកក់ក្ដៅនិងសម្ដែងការដឹងគុណយ៉ាងជ្រាលជ្រៅដល់រដ្ឋាភិបាលជប៉ុនដែលបានជួយគ្រប់គ្រងនិងជួយជម្ជែកដល់កម្ពុជាក្នុងបុព្វហេតុប្រយុទ្ធប្រឆាំងនឹងជំងឺរាតត្បាតនេះឲ្យខានតែបានតាមរយៈការផ្ដល់ជំនួយឧបករណ៍សម្ភារៈសុខាភិបាលនិងហិរញ្ញវត្ថុជាបន្តបន្ទាប់
Japan donated 2 million vaccine doses to Thailand. The AstraZeneca vaccine was administered at hospitals and clinics.
Especially for Japan, on behalf of one of the medical staffs and the officials working on COVID-19, we would very much like to thank the Japanese government and the Japanese people for helping us donating vaccines and also medical supplies.
Japan's contribution to its neighboring countries in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic has been warmly received. The international community has lauded Japan for their humanitarian efforts. Malaysians welcomed the Lunar New Year of the Tiger with a roaring return of an underwater lion dance performance as well as a visit to the temples. The Aquaria KLCC, Kuala Lumpur City Centre, an aquarium located near Kuala Lumpur's iconic Petronas Twin Towers, saw divers decked in vivid red and yellow line costumes, prancing and performing amid marine creatures, marking the returns of an annual underwater performance that had been called off the previous year due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Line dances are traditionally performed in China and among ethnic Chinese communities all over the world to mark the Lunar New Year, which falls at the start of February this year. Meanwhile, others were relieved at being able to welcome the new year with the temple visit alongside their families after last year's celebrations were confined to homes nationwide. Advanced smokeless incineration technology is being used for treating industrial waste in Hokkaido, Japan.
この施設は、産業廃棄物の中間処理施設、主に廃プラスチック等を、焼却処分する設備でございます。私どもの特徴として、炉本体がですね、水冷構造になっておりまして、送風機で強制的に炉の中に空気を入れて完全燃焼させると、これが一番の、設備の特徴だと思っています。まず最初にですね、投入装置です。ゴミをですね、炉の中に入れる装置です。次にですね、焼却炉本体、これは一応強制的にですね、エアーを炉の中に送り込んで800度 C 以上の温度で、完全燃焼させる設備になっております。次に再燃焼室、ここでも一応800度 C 以上で2秒間以上の滞留時間を保持してダイオキシン等の、分解を、促進しております。その後にですね、接続ダクトを通して、ガスの冷却塔にガスが入ります。その次にですね、冷却塔から出たガスは、ろ過式集塵機、バグフィルターといいますが、そこで、内塵等をですね除去して、その後排風機でもって強制的に燃焼ガスを引っ張ってで排気筒から排出すると、そういう設備になっております。
我々歴史的にはもう50年ほど歴史を持っている会社なんですが、で焼却炉一筋でやってきておりまして、日本の病院もたくさん使っていただいてたんですが、海外ちょっと目を向ければ大変やはり困っておられるんじゃないだろうかと。でそのことで我々も喜んでいただき貢献できるということで、ちょっと海外にシフトし、その中でJICA の支援をいただいてアフリカモロッコに、納入したと。
Japan International Cooperation Agency or JICA is working tirelessly to solve social issues in developing countries. Above all, efforts to tackle environmental problems and decarbonization are defined as urgent in each country. Chua Industrialist is proceeding with technology transfer of industrial waste, incinerator technology. JICA strongly support its overseas expansion. Almost 360 units were provided to Vietnam. Regular online meetings with local staff and hospital officials in Vietnam take place regularly to evaluate projects and discuss further cooperation. A cafe in Thailand is reaping dividends after it transformed its interior from photogenic sakura trees to cryptocurrency data screens. HIP Coffee and Restaurant is not necessarily known for its foods and coffee, but it has recently drawn many days traders eager to feast their eyes upon dozens of beeping television screens showing the latest trends and prices on various cryptocurrencies. Originally founded in 2013, the cafe said its number of customers has doubled since installing the crypto data screens in 2020. Customers who used to only visit during weekends to take pictures with sakura decorations are now packing it in during weekdays.
Next, we take you to India's Rajouri district, where poor families in the far-flung areas recently received free ration under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Though the scheme was to be operational only till November 2021, but acknowledging that poor people still need food security support, The centre extended it until March 2022. Locals in Rajouri appreciated the government's move to help poor fight the battle against the pandemic.
People in far-flung areas of Rajouri district like Lurkot, Chatiyar and Nadiala gathered outside ration depots to collect the free ration, which is being provided to them under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. A part of Atmanirbhar Bharat, this food security welfare scheme was announced by the Government of India in March 2020 during the outbreak of COVID-19 in the country. The scheme provides free of cost 5 kg grain per month to all the beneficiaries covered under the National Food Security or NFSA, including those covered under direct benefit transfer. Beneficiaries in Rajouri district thanked the central government for providing them with this relief package amid the pandemic situation.
जो गवर्नमेंट ने पहले का जो राशन दे रहे थे वो एक्सटेंड किया है, जो इन्होंने दिसंबर के आगे जो आज नया दे रहे हैं, ठीक दे रहे हैं, फ्री दे रहे हैं।
हम रेगुलर यहाँ से राशन ले रहे हैं, हमें पहले भी फ्री राशन मिल चुका है और अब भी हमें ठीक राशन मिल रहा है यहाँ से। ये सबके लिए सही है, अच्छी बात है, ये सब लोगों के लिए ठीक है, उनके लिए सहूलत हो गई है और उनको ये फ़ायदा मिलेगा इसका और आगे भी ऐसे ही होना चाहिए।
In Rajouri, free ration is being provided to people by the Consumer Affairs and Public Distribution Department. At present, beneficiaries are getting it under the Phase 5 of the scheme that started during the lockdown last year and will continue until March 2022. Phase 1 and 2 of this scheme were operational from April to June 2020 and July to November 2020 respectively. Phase 3 was operational from May to June 2021, while the Phase 4 was operational from July-November 2021. The free ration given to beneficiaries is over and above the monthly quota of subsidized food grain of 5 kg per person under the NFSA.
तो आपको पता ही है कि 2 साल से कोरोना की वजह से कितनी लोगों को परेशानी आ रही है, तो उसमें जो हमें गवर्नमेंट ने रिलीफ दिया वो पहले 2-3 शिफ्ट में दिया, अभी फिर पिछले महीने में ख़त्म हुआ, अभी 4 महीने फिर बढ़ाए गए हैं, तो हम लोगों में तकसीम कर रहे हैं एज़ पर स्केल जो हमें गवर्नमेंट दे रही है। जैसे 5 kg हमारा जो रूटीन का राशन है तो 5 kg साथ हमारा रिलीफ है। हमारी कोशिश है कि अच्छी से अच्छी सर्विस हम दें ताकि हमारे हमें 2 साल से आपने देखा इस कोरोना महामारी में भी हमने डीलरों ने ऑनलाइन ही राशन दिया है। लोग डरते हैं, एक आदमी को बैठने देते पास, घर में नहीं कोई बैठने देता, मगर हमें जो हमारे लोग हैं हमारे साथ रहे हैं, हम लोगों के साथ छाना बिछाना रहे हैं, तो उसका हमें नतीजा भी अच्छा आ रहा है, आपके सामने ही है।
Jammu and Kashmir has remained one among the top performers in PM Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana by distributing 100% ration among the beneficiaries. Such initiatives of the central government have not just helped in fulfilling the food requirement of the poor people, but have also helped them to fight against COVID-19.
India is the birthplace of Buddhism, and Buddhist festivals are celebrated with much vigor and fervour across the country. Well known for hosting such festivals is the Ladakh territory, whose magnificent monasteries serve as the perfect backdrop for these cultural presentations. Recently, Buddhist monks performed mass dance depicting stories of good prevailing over the evil to mark the traditional festival Spitik Gustor with great fervour and enthusiasm. Have a look.
The traditional ceremonies, great hospitality, dance and music marks the celebration of vibrant Spituk Gustor, 2 days monastic festival organized in the Spituk Monastery of Ladakh. Held in the 11th month of Tibetan calendar, the festival is celebrated since 11th century and symbolizes the victory of good over evil. On the first day of the occasion, Thanka of Gawa Yapsa Yam is opened for the devotees. Mass dance, also known as Cham, which is performed by monks dressed up in a traditional attire with mask on their face, forms the highlight of the festival. Accompanied by the melodious tunes of long horns, cymbals, conch shells and bells and other instruments, the dance is more like a drama with characters that represent the guardian divinities, Dharmpalas and pattern divinities of Gulukpa order. Thousands of local residents as well as tourists gather at the monastery to experience the charm of this annual winter celebration.
पितुगुस्तोर का जो पूजा है साल बार में एक ही बार होता है और ये हमारे टिबेटन कैलेंडर के हिसाब से 11वीं महीना जो आज हमारा 11वीं महीना चल रहा है और 11वीं महीना के 22वां दिन से हमारा पूजा स्टार्ट होता है ये यहाँ पर पितुक मोनास्ट्री में और जो 28 और 29 दिन का जो हमारे 11वीं महीना का वहाँ उस दिन मार्क्स डांस होता है और मार्क्स डांस हर एक तरीके का मार्क्स डांस होता है और यहाँ पर जो माता जी काली माता श्रीदेवी जी उनका जो एक मुंह ढका हुआ होता है वो साल में 7 बार ही खुलते हैं तो इस बार अभी खुला हुआ है.
Nestled atop of a hillock overlooking the Indus River, the Spituk Monastery was found as a Red Hat institution and was taken over by Yellow Hat sect in the 15th century. Every year, the monastery plays host to an annual event in which monks from various monasteries of the world like Stoke, Sankar, Sabu and Spituk congregate. It serves as a perfect occasion to cheer up the visitors during harsh winters and have a great experience of pure country life away from the hustle and bustle of the city.
कल जो हमारा एक लास्ट दिन जो एक पूरा जितने भी मार्क्स डांस होने के बाद जो हमारा एक तोरमा है जो हम उनको क्या बोलते हैं बटर केक जो हम बना के और जो भी इविल है पाप है जो भी एक पुराने जो साल में जो कुछ भी हमने जो भी मतलब दुनिया की एक शांति के लिए जो एक पूजा किया हुआ है वो 2 दिन का जो पूजा होता है वो कल समाप्त होगा जी 29 दिन का.
Symbolizing the destruction of all form of evils, this act is also a reenactment of the assassination of the Tibetan apostate King Lang Dark Ma by the Buddhist monk in the mid-9th century.
It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Yeshi signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.